Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another episode of Africa Update here on Trust TV, reaching you from Abuja. Now, this week on the program, we'll be looking at a few updates on what's happening on our beautiful black continent. Do stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Africa Update. I'm your host, Chiamaka Nwafo. As I said before the break, we will be looking at what's happening, what's going on our beautiful black continent. And on that note, we'll start off with the capital of Sudan, where, devastated by over 2 years of civil war, Sudan's capital Khartoum is beginning to rebuild. The chaos in Sudan erupted when long-standing tensions between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF, escalated into open conflict in April of 2023, affecting Khartoum and other areas. Here's more in this report from Africa News.
Sudan's capital city, Khartoum, devastated by the country's civil war that has been raging for more than 2 years. Some of the deadliest clashes took place here before the army regained control of the capital in March. As well as the human toll, the city's infrastructure has been badly hit. The United Nations estimates that 2 million people will return to the capital by the end of the year, and urgent work is underway to start rebuilding. It's a momentous task. The UN says just getting basic facilities up and running will cost some $350 million. The city is also contaminated by unexploded ordnance and landmines, all of which need to be removed. Sudan was plunged into chaos in April 2023 when simmering tensions between the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces exploded into open fighting. Since then, tens of thousands of people have been killed and nearly 13 million displaced.
Now, the Nigerian army claims to have killed Bakura, a long-time leader of the Islamist militant group Boko Haram, on Shilawa Island in southeastern Niger on August 15. Originally from Nigeria, Muhammadu joined Boko Haram 13 years ago and took over the group after the death of the former leader, Abubakar Shekau. He was in his 40s when he was killed in the early morning near the Lake Chad Basin, located on the borders of Niger, Nigeria, Chad, and Cameroon, according to the Nigerian army. The claim cannot be independently verified. West Africa has seen an upsurge in Boko Haram attacks since the beginning of the year, as the jihadist group has launched numerous incursions into military bases, sabotaged roads, and targeted civilian communities. On Monday, the group killed 4 security personnel in an attack on farmers in the Borno region of Nigeria, which was bordering Niger. Now from Niger, we're going over to DR Congo, where civil parties in the treason trial of the former president of the Democratic Republic of the Congo are demanding tens of billions of dollars in reparations. They say this is in compensation for the violence they have experienced at the hands of rebels on the mineral-rich east of the country. The charges against Joseph Kabila include murder, rape, and torture, linked to his alleged support for Rwanda-backed M23 rebels who control a large part of the region. Kabila's successor, President Felix Tshisekedi, has accused him of being the brains behind the group. At a military court in Kinshasa, lawyers for the civil party say they're seeking nearly $25 billion in reparations. They have also described Kabila as a Rwandan citizen and are demanding he be convicted of espionage instead. Meanwhile, the eastern provinces of South Kivu, Ituri, and North Kivu are demanding an additional $21 billion and the seizure of the former president's bank assets. Following 2 years of self-imposed exile in South Africa, Kabila returned to Goma in May after the city was captured by the Rwanda-backed group, but is being tried in absentia. He denies being the brains behind the rebels or one of the initiators of the Congo River Alliance AFC, the wider rebel grouping which includes the M23 and other militia. While former presidents serve as senators for life and enjoy lifetime immunity, Kabila was stripped of this protection in May to allow for his prosecution. We go to Ghana, where a country often hailed as one of Africa's most peaceful nations, offering refuge to thousands fleeing violence across the continent. Yet, for many Ghanaians, peace remains elusive. In several parts of the country, long-standing local conflicts continue to displace families and destroy lives. Experts warn that urgent action is needed to address these simmering tensions before they escalate further. This story is from DW.
In the northern Ghanaian community of Ngangbaburug, Olivia Dood shifts through the charred remains of her belongings. Her home was burnt during a violent attack in January, triggered by a chieftaincy dispute. Olivia and her family fled to Napanduri, seeking shelter with relatives.
I and the children and my husband who were in the house. So we heard a gunshot and we saw a house burning. So we have to run for our lives.
The conflict, sparked by the installation of rival chiefs, has claimed lives, destroyed homes, and displaced over 500 people. Just months ago, Olivia sold bread and fish to support her family. Now her property has been looted by scrap dealers.
I don't even want to talk about it because the money I used in investing is too much, because I don't think I can even get that money again to start again.
But amid the devastation, women in the community are demanding peace. In a powerful traditional ritual, women marched to the Bimbawe Chief Palace, denouncing the violence and calling for unity. The procession, led by members of the Yenutunok Foundation, symbolizes a deep cultural plea for reconciliation.
We are urging patience from everyone. That is why we are using the leaves to plead for peace, so we can return to our homes with our children. We are tired of running with the children to the mountains to hide. It is the reason why we are marching today.
At the palace, their message was received with respect. A local elder acknowledged their call and expressed willingness to work toward peace.
We are ready for peace and we have accepted, but we are not the only people to make peace. We need to come together to make peace. So this to bring all actors on board so that we see how best we can move to forge peace together.
While Ghana provides sanctuary to refugees from the Sahel, many of its citizens, especially in the north, continue to live in fear. Overall, Ghana is grappling with over 500 active conflicts, mostly rooted in ethnic and land disputes.
The entire state machinery has actually run out of ideas. They are actually at their wits' end. That's why they have had to run back to the time-tested influence and authority of our traditional rulers.
Quite a sad one there. Wow. Hopefully, as these women have taken that march and the elders have spoken, these issues are resolved and people can go back to living a seemingly normal life again. But still in Ghana, Ghana is among several African nations affected by a new 15% tariff on exports to the United States following an executive order signed by President Donald Trump. The move has prompted many small businesses that depend on the United States market to seek alternative trade routes and strategies. Here's more from DW.
David Foley Ayivo has been managing his food processing business in Accra for over 6 years. Until recently, the United States was his primary export destination and a key growth market for his company.
The American market is very important to us, number one, because of the stability of the dollar, because once you are dealing with foreign currency and dollar for that matter, it helps your business to grow faster. And also regarding their purchasing power, the Americans have the pockets to be able to afford our products. And thirdly, is the fastest growing market in terms of natural products.
However, the newly imposed 15% tariff on Ghanaian exports to the US has disrupted Ayevo's plans. He's now pivoting his business strategy to stay afloat.
What we are doing currently is to focus on the domestic markets. I mean, domestic markets, what I mean by that is the sub-region. So we are working with countries around the sub-Saharan Africa to be able to have a stronghold in sub-Saharan Africa region before we can stand on that and then now penetrate the global market.
Before the tariff hike, Ghana and other African nations enjoyed duty-free access to the US under the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. However, Trump's tariffs override AGOA provisions, meaning Ghanaian exporters must now pay reciprocal duties. In 2024, total goods trade between the US and Ghana reached $2.1 billion. US exports to Ghana stood at $967.3 million, while imports from Ghana totaled $1.2 billion, resulting in a trade deficit of $204.4 million for the US. Analysts say Ghana must adapt quickly.
Ghana, for example, 70% of everything we use is imported. So President Trump's decisions and actions are to be taken very seriously if we want to remain as a force in the global community and as continent. So the proposal is that we have to begin to produce and consume the things that we have local capacity to produce within the continent. It is important that as continents, we deepen the trade between and among each other so that we'll have less reliance on the US economy.
With the Trump administration doubling down on tariffs, many small African businesses are now rethinking their strategies, placing less emphasis on the US market and exploring new opportunities closer to home.
Still staying with the effects of the current Trump administration, we'll go to Somalia, where the health system is under strain after the administration of Donald Trump announced aid cuts, which have affected everything from the availability of vaccines to staff and equipment. At the same time, diseases like measles and diphtheria are emerging. Here's more in this report.
This hospital ward in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, is full of diphtheria patients. Doctors are increasingly worried about the spread of this airborne disease. Its symptoms are evident in this ward. Diphtheria is usually preventable through early childhood vaccination, but if left untreated, it can be fatal. Dekwa Mohammed, who fled fighting between government forces and Islamist militants in central Somalia, has already lost one of her 4 children.
Diphtheria claimed the life of one of my children, and another fell ill but fortunately recovered. Now I'm in the hospital with my 2 other children who have contracted diphtheria.
According to Save the Children, cases of infectious diseases like measles and diphtheria have doubled between April and July this year. And aid cuts by the U.S. have led to fewer medical services and a collapse in mobile vaccination programs. The hospital director here says they lack both antibiotics and other medicines to the disease.
The current rate of infection is very high. According to Somalia's epidemiological trends, it shows that there's an outbreak of diphtheria in the last 2 months in 50 districts of the country. Our hospital alone registered diphtheria patients from 49 districts.
With ongoing fighting in several parts of Somalia, getting medical care to people outside the main urban centers is difficult.
Somalia's health financing has for a long time depended on donors. The USAID cut affected the health funds terribly. They used to help Somalia. Many health centers were closed, and mobile vaccination teams that went to remote areas were also cut and no longer function. This has affected our vaccination capacity.
Somalia's health minister says they're hoping to roll out a countrywide vaccination campaign. But with the U.S., its main donor, cutting aid down to 19% of what it was last year, Somalia's youngest citizens might continue bearing the brunt.
We're going on a short break, and when we return, more updates on what's happening on our continent. Just stay with us. Welcome back from that short break. Let's go into more stories. Now, back here in Nigeria, farmland is shrinking as the desert encroaches in Nigeria's northeastern Yobe state. But efforts to restore the land and protect future generations are growing. Let's take a look. We're going over to the Gambia. Gambia's first community wildlife reserve and the surrounding marine ecosystem is at risk. Sea turtles, birds and fish stocks, as well as forests, are threatened. Let's take a look at this report from the DW.
It was a big catch for many fishermen today in Gunjur, Gambia. They are delivering their haul to a fish meal factory. But their catch is now often disappointing.
We have a lot of environmental challenges, ranging from sand mining. From there we have fish meal factories. Fish meal factories also, compromising a lot of our opportunities.
This Chinese factory was opened in 2016. The local communities were excited about the possible job opportunities, a fish market, and improved roads. But the hopes for growth have come with a hefty price tag, bringing damage to the environment here. The water on the coastline is believed to have changed color due to the chemicals found in the factory's wastewater discharged into the ocean. We asked the fish meal factory for a statement, but they declined.
This water started changing this color when this factory started the operation here. Most of the time when it came into this color, you don't see any much birds here because they don't like what happens. The water doesn't look good for anything. The first time it happened, it also killed all the small fish and it also killed a lot of crabs. So we have documented that this happens because we have these fish meal factories.
The marine forest area is affected too. This Bolong Fenyo Wildlife Reserve was established in 2008 to protect mangroves, woodlands and coastal dunes. The 345 hectares reserve was once a thriving habitat for migratory birds, bats and monkeys. But climate change and pollution, largely driven by human activity, have disrupted the ecosystem, forcing the birds to stop nesting near the lagoon. But there is still hope. This group of environmentalists started the Gunjur Conservationist and Ecotourism Association to lead change and inspire community solutions.
We came up with the initiative called Indigenous Nursery Project. Why Indigenous Nursery Project? We wanted to introduce the trees that are native Gambian trees back to the forest. Most of these trees have economic importance, they have medicinal importance, and they have cultural importance. So these trees, that's what we nurture from our nursery side, then restore back to the forest.
Lamin Jassi has made it his mission to raise awareness in the community of the need to plant trees. This project is much needed because in the past 25 years, the Gambia has lost 732 hectares of tree cover, according to the Global Forest Watch. This loss is mainly due to wildfires, firewood collection and clearing land for agriculture.
As a scientist, we have a concern with regards to some of the economic activity we are seeing over the years. Yes, people everywhere wanted to have a land to develop and to have a settlement. We've been seeing a lot of estate agencies emerge from this country. But then, yes, that those young people, what they are doing is the right move.
The forest protects this fast-eroding shore of the Atlantic Ocean, which is home to endangered sea turtles. The coastline is an important home for green turtles to lay their eggs. But when they come to shore, they are often attacked by fishermen or people in the community. Like here, these are shells of green turtles killed while trying to nest.
The idea behind this facility is we try to create a head start tank with our partners, keep some few turtles with us, boost their growth, study their behavior and ecology, boost their growth to a certain size. Then when they reach that, when we have the expert advice from our partners as to the suitable time to release them.
The turtle village in Gunjur also collects data on the water quality to better understand forest and marine life.
For us, we think this data will help government to make an informed decision, because they will know what we are collecting. We are collecting how much fish go to the factory and how much go to the community. We record that. And as well, overall fish that land in the water, and also the fishing gears that they use.
Lamin and his team know that the future of this ecosystem mainly depends on the commitment of the people who call it home.
That's it from the Gambia. And from there, finally, we'll be talking about back here in West Africa, over in Mali, actually. Clay construction is having a renaissance, rather. Hot concrete buildings make air conditioning a must. However, earth bricks are a low-cost and eco-friendly option. Let's take a look.
This medical school in Bamako might look ordinary from the outside, but it holds something special within. A cool atmosphere. It stays nice and fresh during hot weather. You feel the coolness inside. We feel comfortable here. Elsewhere it's hot because there's too much concrete. There's hardly any concrete here. Instead, the school is made of locally sourced unfired mud bricks. Earthen materials like mud bricks have been used for millennia, and they haven't lost any of their appeal. In fact, they're gaining a lot of attention here in Mali again, and that's for a good reason. The concept of using earth bricks in construction is to take a material that is widely available throughout the world at a local level. And it's a material that has a high thermal inertia. So it reduces the transfer of heat from the outside of the building to the inside. It's really a material that is well suited to our climate here in Africa, and especially in the Sahel region. Air conditioning vents are still a common sight on concrete buildings in Mali to combat the heat inside. But ACs consume a lot of energy. Engineers, builders and architects like Mariam C want to counter the misconception that eco-friendly mud brick structures are less durable. If produced correctly, that is not the case. The mud bricks are made by mixing clay earth with sand and a small amount of cement. The bricks are then compressed and slowly air-dried. Apart from the energy efficiency of finished buildings, producing these air-dried mud bricks produces hardly any CO2, unlike concrete, which accounts for up to 8% of global CO2 emissions. We are really working towards a future where, if people want to build, they ask themselves, what material do I want to use? Do I want to build with earth or with cement? The goal is for earth, stone and other locally available materials to become the main construction materials. This shouldn't be the exception, but the rule. It should become normal using these materials.
There you have it from Mali, and she's saying In case you want to build a house that's going to be cool regardless of the hot weather that we experience in this part of the world, maybe consider using clay and earth bricks to build as opposed to the usual concrete being used. And maybe just your house will be cooler and you save cost on energy for the air conditioning. That's the much we have for you this week on Africa Update. I hope you've been educated, informed and inspired. For more of our programs, news and documentaries, you follow us on our social media platforms and on our YouTube live stream. I've been your host, Chiamaka Mwafo. Same time, same place next week. Bye for now.